Now to the historic day on Capitol Hill. Long Island Congressman George Santos has been ousted from the House. Only 5 other House lawmakers had ever been expelled in U.S. history, including 3 during the Civil War and 2 who had been convicted of crimes.
Hello, and welcome to You're a Conspiracy Nut. This whole video is going to be about George Santos being expelled from Congress.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
One of the clips is a little over 6 minutes, but it's because it talks about some of the many lies that have been exposed. So I'll push play, and I'll see you at the end.
My question for you, Mark, who was sort of there from the beginning, which is like, when you take a step back, the big question that I had in the beginning is still there, which is like, how did so many systems fail for this guy? Like, I think we now can all say this guy never should have been a member of Congress. And that has been the judgment of 3/4 of the House. I think it's the judgment of the people in this district. How did it happen? Why did it happen?
Well, so one of the things that I kind of looked into in the book is the scientific literature behind lying, right? And it actually is very difficult to figure out if someone's lying. One way you do that is to almost like make someone tell the story backwards. And I think that's like a way to look at how hard it is to find people out who are lying about everything. And so there were people poking holes in his stories. I wrote a bunch, the Daily Beast, the North Shore Leader, even the Democratic, the DCCC looked into him and found lots of really sketchy things, right? Nobody pulled all the dots together until the Times' great story in December.
I dare anybody to stand up and try to cancel me.
York free, Santos free.
Did I embellish my resume? Yes, I did. And I'm sorry.
Congressman George Santos has been facing a storm of controversy amid reports that he fabricated key details about his education, work experience, heritage, and more.
These are blatant lies. Do you have no shame?
Tulsi, I can say the same thing about the Democrats.
On November 9, 2022, George Santos was elected to Congress, flipping New York's 3rd District and helping the GOP clinch a slim majority in the House. He made history as the first openly gay Republican elected to Congress as a non-incumbent. But just over a month after his win, an expose by the New York Times unraveled a string of lies he told about his background, prompting even more discrepancies to be spotted.
We were bamboozled, absolutely lied to, and we do not want this representation in New York District 3.
I put myself through college and got an MBA from NYU, and I have 0 debt. Nothing in life is free. And the harder you work for something, the more rewarding it is.
Today, I stand very proud with the bachelor's and master's degree, all New York educated, Baruch College and NYU for my MBA.
Santos's website once claimed he got a bachelor's degree in economics and finance from Baruch College. His biography on the National Republican Congressional Committee's website also previously mentioned him studying at New York University. Both Baruch and NYU, however, told the Times they could not find any records of him attending. Santos has since admitted to the lies to the New York Post. Santos' campaign site, which has since been updated, initially stated that he began working at Citigroup as an associate and quickly advanced to become an associate asset manager in the real asset division of the firm. His bio also indicated he briefly worked for Goldman Sachs. Spokespeople for Citigroup and Goldman Sachs, however, told the New York Times they could not confirm his past employment. In subsequent interviews, Santos clarified that he instead had worked for a company that did business with the firms.
I used a poor use of words, but I did work in the industry for a number of years.
According to her obituary, Santos' mother actually died in 2016, more than 15 years after 9/11. Santos himself confirmed the year of her death in a tweet just months later. Santos later claimed his father was also on Ground Zero the day of the attack, and again confirmed neither of them died that day.
My parents were both down there the day of the attacks, and fortunately none of them passed.
The current version of his website states his mother, quote, survived the tragic events on September 11th, but she passed away a few years later when she lost her battle to cancer. While it is possible his mother could have developed cancer from toxins released during the attack, people are pointing out that 15 years is more than a few years, and that her obituary makes no mention of 9/11.
Well, good morning. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Lee has served as an inspiration, as a friend, and as a leader for the Jewish folks in Congress, at one point being just 2 members. So now we're going to be 3.
That was Santos speaking at the Republican Jewish Coalition meeting in Las Vegas last November, noting that with his election, there would now be 3 Jewish members of Congress. But less than 2 weeks later, he said this.
I'm Jewish. I come from a Jewish family. My mother's family is Jewish. I grew up and I was raised Roman Catholic. My father's Roman Catholic.
And just about a month later, he said this to the New York Post.
I've seen how socialism destroys people's lives because my grandparents survived the Holocaust.
We're no stranger to persecution. My grandfather fleeing Ukraine in 1920s to Belgium, then fleeing Belgium to Brazil in 1940. It's a story of survival, of tenacity, of grit, as we like to call it.
According to genealogy records first uncovered by the Jewish news site The Forward, Santos's grandparents were both born in Brazil before the Nazis came to power. CNN also interviewed multiple genealogists, none of whom could confirm the claim that Santos's grandparents had fled the Holocaust. Since all of these revelations were made, people in Santos's district have been calling on him to resign.
We need to stand together because we do not want to be represented by a clown in Albany.
Facing outrage, Santos himself admitted to, quote, embellishing.
Did I embellish my resume? Yes, I did. And I'm sorry. The reality is I'm human.
More aspects of Santos's life have since come into question. Claims about his income, his philanthropic credentials, his property ownerships, his mother's career, and even a claim that he lost employees to the Pulse massacre.
At the Pulse nightclub in Orlando in 2016, which I happened to, at the time, have people that worked for me in the club. My company at the time, we lost 4 employees.
How dare he? How dare he try to score political points or gain sympathy by lying about losing employees?
Santos is now under investigation by local and federal authorities for misrepresenting himself to voters and for potential crimes regarding his finances and campaign spending. Authorities in Brazil also told the New York Times that Santos is facing charges for check fraud, which they say he admitted to in 2010. All in all, not the best start for Congressman George Santos. The craziness of it all was captured on this parody clip by The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.
I invented root beer floats. I'm the guy from Quaker Oats, and that's not even all the stuff I am.
I'm Kevin Frecking, reporter for the Associated Press on Capitol Hill. Today was a historic day in the House. For just the 6th time in the chamber's history, members voted to expel one of their own from office. Santos had sensed that his time was coming to an end in the House this week. He put on a vigorous defense to stay in the House, citing the precedent of a member never having been removed before he had had his day in court. The vote was rather close at first after GOP leadership had indicated that they agree with him and they were concerned about this precedent. But at the end of the day, they cleared the 2/3 hurdle, and before the vote could even be gavelled in, Santos put on his jacket and left the chamber.
Good. Get rid of him. Now arrest him.
A breaking the rocks in the hot sun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I needed money 'cause I had none. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
As always, do your own research. Come up with your own conclusions, because no matter what you say, no matter what you do, you're a conspiracy nut.